morning, boys and girls. I have a brand new book. I just bought it yesterday called Happy Birthday, Maine. And that is because Maine is having its bicentennial this year, which means it is 200 years old. 200 years ago in March, Maine became a state. So this is a brand new book that was just written by a famous Maine author named Lynn Plord. And do you know who that is? Paul Bunyan. And of course, you know that the moose is a famous Maine symbol. Happy birthday, Maine. Let's get rid of that. Okay. Shh. When you're planning a surprise birthday party, you have to be sneaky. Stomp, stomp, clomp, clomp. Stomp, stomp, clomp, clomp, stomp, clomp. Unless you're Paul Bunyan, unless you're Moose, then it's not easy to tiptoe away to plan a secret party. So these two are going to plan the birthday party for the state of Maine. As Paul Bunyan and Moose reached a clearing deep in the woods, they heard, "Whoo, whoo." "Great question," said Moose. "Who will we invite to the party?" "All 1.3 million residents, of course," said Paul Bunyan. That means 1.3 people live in the state of Maine. That's a lot of people. Plus any people from away who want to come too. "But how can we possibly send out that many invitations?" asks the moose. "I'm not sure what all this purple stuff is around the edges. I don't know if that's just the author, the illustrator being creative, or if there's some meaning to that. I'm not sure." "A sky chock full of chickadees," which is the Maine state bird, replied, "Chickadee-dee-dee-dee-dee, wee, wee, wee." "That's a big job for such wee creatures." Moose looked skeptical. Paul Bunyan shrugged. "Chickadees are the state bird. It's the least they can do." And they did. The chickadees delivered invitations to everybody in the state of Maine. I didn't get one. Did you? And here's what the invitation says. You're invited to a birthday party for Maine. If you're wondering how old the birthday girl is, we're not telling. But she was born in 1820. So you do the math. 200. Date, March 15th. But when you get to be that old, you should celebrate all year long. Time, anytime, day or night. Where? Anywhere and everywhere. Within Maine's 35,385 square miles, of course. That's a big state. Potluck. No gifts, just bring a favorite story to share about the birthday girl. RSVP as soon as possible. Yes or no? As soon as the invitations arrived, RSVPs started pouring in. And everybody said, "Yeah," which means, "Yes, I will go to your party." And "yeah" is what old-time Mainers say instead of "yes." Have you ever heard anybody say that? I have. "It's going to be the biggest party Maine has ever seen," bragged Paul Bunyan. "Even bigger than me." "Yikes." "We'd better get ready," said Moose. Clomp, clomp, stomp, stomp. Get ready they did. They decorated the whole state in a festive fashion, including every single pine tree, except the ones that were still decorated from Christmas. I think maybe Maine has a bit of a reputation for leaving its Christmas decorations up after Christmas is over. And what have they put on the tree? State of Maine maps and LL Bean boots and lobster buoys. So that's how they've decorated their trees. They prepared and practiced for competitions and games, including potato sack races, snow sculpting contests, and antler ring toss. And I don't know if you know it, but Maine grows a lot of potatoes. So that's why they're having potato sack races. They created costumes for those who wanted to dress up as famous Mainers. And this is the man who invented earmuffs. Chester Greenwood. He invented earmuffs. That's Stephen King, who wrote spooky, spooky stories like It. And that is Andre the Seal. I think they could have made some more of these mannequins into famous Mainers because they have a whole list at the back of the book of famous Mainers, but they only pictured 3. You might know more famous Mainers. They bought party favors. Whoopee! Moxie! And Whoopee pies are the Maine state treat, and Moxie is the Maine state drink. At last it was the big day, March 15th. Surprisingly, there was no stomping, no clomping. Paul Bunyan and Moose were nowhere in sight, but that didn't stop everyone else. No one wanted to miss the party of the century, or the party of 2 centuries. It was time to get this party started. Moose would look wicked cute in that hat, says our little chickadee. And that is the State House in Augusta, which is the Maine capital. And look, they've put a little party hat on the dome. And of course, we have a nice big whale and a black bear and a lobster wearing a hat. A Guinness record-setting blueberry pie eating contest. Imagine how many pies Paul Bunyan could eat. All the way down, toboggan sled races from the top of Katahdin, Maine's highest mountain, all the way down to Portland Head Light, dump truckloads of mashed potatoes filled in melted, muddy, grassy spots along the way. Moose and Paul would have won this for sure. How would you like to go tobogganing on mashed potatoes? I prefer snow, the real thing. I don't know about you. Everyone enjoyed the giant potluck buffet that was set up along Route 1, including baked beans, clam chowder, and tourtière pie. Oh my. I think that's some kind of a meat pie that comes from Quebec, up in Canada. Too bad Moose and Paul Bunyan aren't here to chow down, says our little chickadee. They worked so hard on the party. I wonder where Paul Bunyan and Moose have gone to. From the New Hampshire border to Matinicus Island, from Kittery to the county, from the biggest city to the smallest town, and everywhere in between, everyone celebrated the way life should be. And they've taken the state of Maine and turned it on its side, which is a little bit confusing. That's really the state of Maine. And here's Oxford County, and Bethel is right there. And there's Portland is down here. And that's the county in the north, Aroostook County, the farthest north. Not sure why they put the map on the side. Everyone celebrated, that is, except Moose and Paul Bunyan. Bonne fête! I think that means happy celebration. And the reason it's in French is because a lot of people in the northern part of Maine especially speak French because they started in Canada and came across the border. Chickadee-dee-dee, where could they be? But there was no time for wondering. A giant logging truck rumbled to a stop. Partiers surrounded it and oohed and ahed at the world's biggest birthday cake. Just as everyone was ready to dive in, the cake top flew off. Happy birthday to Maine! Happy birthday, Maine! Chickadee-dee-dee, tee-hee-hee. So they were hiding inside the cake. Let's see that cake again. That's a very big cake if the moose and Paul Bunyan could fit inside of it. And at the end of the book, there are all kinds of facts about how many people live in Maine, 1.3, 16 counties, 35,385 square miles in Maine. The capital is Augusta. The state motto is Dirigo, which means I lead. The state mammal is the moose. The state bird is the chickadee. The state tree, the eastern white pine. The state dessert is blueberry pie. The state treat is whoopie pie. The state soft drink is Moxie. And there's a list of famous Mainers. Probably when you're in 4th grade, you'll have to do a little research on that. Sometimes everybody picks a person and does research in 4th grade. So you can look forward to that. Until then, happy birthday, Maine. The birthday of Maine was actually March 15th. We weren't in school then, but as the book said, people in Maine are celebrating all year the 200th anniversary. Have a good week. See you next time.